it wouldn't be as good as it is if the rest of the car wasn't set up to do those kinds of things. Again, with the charging, it's really about pricing and it's about availability. Like on the interstate, usually I have it set to 75 or 80, and it'll want to drop me back down to the regular speed limit, which in my state, unfortunately, is 65 miles per hour. Alrighty, friends, welcome to another Dasher Cam Tesla adventure video. Today didn't quite go as planned. I had a whole thing lined up, ready to go, where I was gonna drive up to the top of Mary's Peak and show off the car a little bit. But I got up near the top, almost all the way to the top, and realized that the snow was just a little bit too thick. So we've turned around and we're making our way back down the mountain, and I figured that I would take you guys along for the drive and give you guys my first 30,000 mile impressions of owning my Tesla Model 3 for just over a year, and we're 200 roughly miles away from 30,000 miles, so near as makes no difference, as Kyle says. And I wanted to bring you guys along for the ride with some beautiful, absolutely gorgeous views of Mary's Peak, Philomath area of the coastal mountain range here in Oregon. So let's go ahead and jump into it. And, you know, we'll talk about some of the things that I like about the car, some of the things that I don't like about the car, and whether or not maybe driving an electric car is for you. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope that you enjoy this video, and let's get to it. First things first, let's go over 3 things that I do not like about the car. That way that we can get them out of the way. I'm going to try and do 3 things that I don't like about the car and 3 things that I do like about the car. I am driving a 2023 Tesla Model 3 Performance. You know, let's go ahead and check in all the way around. Today is March 18th, 2024, 6:14 p.m. Pacific time, 59 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're about 2,700 feet up and descending. So let's go ahead and talk about how this car was whenever I first got it, bare bones stock. It comes with the 20-inch Uber turbines on Pirelli rims, on Pirelli wheels. The Uber turbines are the rims that come on the performance version of the car. I did not like those Uber turbines at all. They literally had like this much tire on them, and in my opinion, they are just not a good fit for the car and for what I would like to do. So first things first, I do not like the Uber turbines. I do still have them. They're in the basement, nicely in, you know, some bags and stuff. And right now I'm running 18-inch Martian MW03s on Michelin Cross Climate 2s, which are an all-season winter-rated tire. And things are getting a little hairy here. So a couple of trees down on the way up. I've got some other video that I might go ahead and throw in and around at times, just so that we can all be on the same page as to what the trek up the mountain was, and where I decided that, you know what, maybe I just don't want to do this anymore. Even with my snow rated, you know, the 3-peak tires and all that, I decided that it wasn't worth it. So anyways, first negative on the car is going to be those 20-inch Uber turbines. If you have a Model 3 Performance or a Model Y Performance, or just a regular, you know, Model 3 or Model Y, and you're looking for some nice alternative rims, the Martian MW03s are really great. I cannot recommend them enough. I was really just afraid that with those Uber turbines that I might like hit a pothole and either bend a rim or, you know, burst a tire, and I figured that, you know, purchasing a brand new Uber turbine rim and tire package from Tesla was going to be pretty expensive, so I just went ahead and jumped on a deal that Martian Wheels had, and I wanted 18s instead of 20s for better ride comfort quality, and just overall a better experience. So first things first, there it is out the gate. I did not like the Uber turbines. Now the next two are going to be a little bit more difficult for me to soul search and find, because this car is honestly pretty amazing all by itself. But if I had to give another negative, I hate to say it, y'all, but it's gonna have to be autopilot. It is great and it's not great at the same time. So I'm not talking about full self-driving here. I'm just talking about basic autopilot that you get whenever, you know, you own a Tesla. Teslas all come with basic autopilot, at least as of right now. Who knows, that may change with a software update in the future, or you have to pay to access it. But for right now, it comes on all of the cars, and while it is a great tool, it has some things to be desired. So I'm gonna just go ahead and jump out there and say that my number 2 negative is autopilot, believe it or not. Yes, it is amazing for what it does, but it has gotten worse since I've gotten the car. And excuse me, my ears are popping a little bit, so I apologize if I sound a little bit funny while I'm talking to you. But I'm going to go over a couple of reasons why I don't love autopilot. So it does a great, let's talk about what it does do well, right? So it does a great job keeping me in the middle of the lane. It does a good job turning in the middle of the road on its own. And with software updates that have come since I purchased the car, it really does a great job helping me realize and come to, you know, be ready to make a turn. If I've got everything set up in the navigation, it'll start slowing me down as I get near to a turn. So those are some really great things. But the negatives, unfortunately, outweigh it for how good it is, because it's so good that you expect it to be on point and almost perfect every single time, and it's just not. It's absolutely just not. So a lot of the time I'm using autopilot on the highway. And whenever you're using autopilot on the highway, if you're in the far right lane, and you're trying to just kind of do your thing and you know, let the people that want to go fast pass you on the left, the right lane has the merge lanes that you guys are all familiar with that I'm talking about on the interstate. And whenever autopilot gets to these merge lines, it starts to get a little wibbly and wobbly. And I feel very unconfident about that. So there's one negative to autopilot there. And another negative to autopilot, guys, is these nags that it gives you continuously. You cannot go more than like 10 seconds without giving some type of input to the wheel. So the wheel needs to be jostled just a little bit to make sure that the car knows that you are still there and in control. So, and it happens every 10 to 15 seconds. It'll beep beep at you, it'll nag you. It's just honestly almost annoying to use. And that's putting it politely. It's almost unusable. Like if I were to do this for just a few seconds, it would beep beep at me. Now I do have my camera, my in-cabin camera covered up, because I don't believe that Tesla should be able to, you know, spy on me and with all my privacy and whatnot. And that has actually helped the nags, because it can't see where my eyes are. Like if I was talking to you right now and I had it on autopilot, it would probably be dinging at me regardless of whether or not I was driving on the road properly. Let's see, one other thing that I do not like about autopilot is that maybe this is more of a recent thing. I honestly think that it is. But if there's any kind of inclement weather, and I know that this is a safety feature and I'm not knocking Tesla for it, I just personally don't like it. But anytime that there's any kind of inclement weather, it will reduce the speed, or it will say autopilot is unavailable right now. And to an extent, I understand, right? Because it's using the cameras around the car to determine how the drive should go. And if it's raining or if it's foggy, it can't see and it doesn't want to, you know, drive as fast as you might want it to. Like on the interstate, usually I have it set to 75 or 80. and it'll want to drop me back down to the regular speed limit, which in my state, unfortunately, is 65 miles per hour. So those are a few negatives about autopilot. If you don't mind being nagged, if you don't mind having to absolutely have your hands on the wheel all the time, then autopilot is fine, I guess. But from the time that I took delivery of the car to now, I feel like autopilot has gotten worse, and I just don't enjoy driving with autopilot as much as I used to. Yes, I definitely still use it. Yes, it is a great feature, but I'm going to throw it in the negative category because they have just they've over safetied it. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's too much. So let's talk about my third dislike. This is going to be for any EV that, you know, is on the road right now, and that is charging. Now, I'm not doing like a blanket statement on charging because my car charges very, very well. However, if you have an electric vehicle right now in America, again, 2024, March 2024, you really need to have a home charging level 2 EVSE installed in your house to get the full experience of EV ownership. You cannot purchase, in my opinion, you cannot purchase an EV right now and expect the public infrastructure that's there, be it Tesla, be it the CCS network, you can't expect that to fulfill all of your needs for charging. It's just not going to happen. And most people are only going less than 200 miles round trip in a day. So it's imperative that if you have an electric car, that you are charging it at home to get the most out of using the electric car. So I kind of want to talk about pricing and stuff here. I'm in the Corvallis, Oregon area, which is home to Oregon State University. Mary's Peak is right up the road. That was where we attempted to go to and didn't make it. We're actually on our way down the hill from Mary's Peak as we speak. But at home, I pay 8 cents per kilowatt hour, which is honestly a really, really great price. And, you know, I can go roughly almost 4 miles per kilowatt hour. So 4 miles, 8 cents. I'll let you do the math and compare it to your gas car that you currently drive. And then I want you to do the same math at 40 cents per kilowatt hour. That's 40. That's 5 times per kilowatt hour what it costs me to drive at home. And I just want you guys to be aware that these are things that, as an EV owner, I've learned throughout my experience. You really do need level 2 charging at home to be an effective EV user. I'm going to go ahead and use autopilot right now because we're on a road that is pretty decent for it. So there is, you know, there are my top 3 things because, again, with the charging, it's really about pricing and it's about availability. There aren't enough DC fast chargers around. There aren't enough Tesla superchargers around for everybody to use all the time. And it takes too long for someone to go through and, you know, fill up their car at a Tesla supercharger and then drive it around all week or expect to drive it around all week. You would have to charge for like 35 minutes or so if you were way, way down low in the battery pack and charging it way up high. And that's not recommended. Usually the Teslas are recommending that you charge somewhere between 20% and 80%, keeping it in that battery in that area. You know what? I said I was going to do 3, but I'm going to go ahead and do a number 4 for my negative. And this really isn't on Tesla. I love the car. It's been great. But there are just certain little things, niggles, as Kyle might say, that I've come to not love about the car. And unfortunately, it does have to do with build quality. I hate to sound like everybody else, but there are some creaks and rattles in my car that I'm just not a fan of. I've tried to get them fixed by Tesla service. They've done a really good job attempting to fix them. I've had it in multiple times, but there are just some things about the car that unfortunately are still there, and it still rattles. It still makes a little bit of noise. and I'm just not a fan of that. Also, about a week and a half, 2 weeks after I obtained the car, I obtained it late February, early March of last year. Again, this is my 1-ish year review, 30-ish thousand miles. We're at 29,786. If I can insert a clip of me crossing over to 30,000 miles, whenever that happens, I will definitely put that in here. On the bottom driver's side rocker, which, pretty much goes from the front left all the way up and around. Like, it's a big piece of metal that goes all the way around the car. But down there, maybe I got a rock chip or something, and then I went to go and pressure wash the car, and whenever I did, a little bit of paint chipped off. Now, that could have been because the paint was still settling. It was a brand new car, and that's just kind of one of those things that happens sometimes, I guess, with brand new cars. Maybe the paint hadn't fully settled in. I haven't had really any other issues throughout the car, but that's one thing that I really, really just did not like, was that I lost some paint at the beginning. I would have liked it if the Model 3 would have taken the same approach as the Model Y and had like a plastic rocker on the bottom. I think that that would have been helpful. All right, so I said I was going to do 3. I went ahead and did 4. Overall, the build quality is very good, but there are just certain little things that you notice, and you're going to notice those types of things in any car for the most part as far as build quality goes. This isn't a Tesla issue. Tesla has come a long way in their build quality, I'm sure, from what you've probably heard and seen elsewhere on YouTube and just maybe in your real life experiences with your friends and family that might have a car. This car is soundly built. It's a great car. There are just a few things that are left to be desired, and the rattles and stuff might not affect someone else as much as it affects me, but because this is an electric car and because it's so quiet, those sounds are amplified more than they would be otherwise. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there and make sure that we were on the same page about that. The car really is great, but if I had to nitpick and say that there were some build quality issues, on my right side, maybe my seat or the way that the doors are like fitted, I don't know, but something is almost always rattling or making noise over there, and I do everything that I can to turn up the music and just ignore it, but it's difficult. All right, so there are a few of the negatives that I've taken some time to think about and that I don't like. We have driven down Mary's Peak, so now that we're down Mary's Peak, I'm gonna gather my thoughts and I will catch back up with you on 3 positives that I would like to tell you about in the next clip. All right, so I've given myself a little bit of time to gather my thoughts, and now I wanted to go ahead and tell you guys some of the things that I love about the Tesla. This was a little bit harder to determine because, honestly, I love everything about this car. This car is so good at so many things. I'm going to try and keep it to 3, but we might go off topic here. So let's just first start off with the phone app integration. It is so good. It is so good. Yes, there are things to be desired. Yes, there are features that I would like, but they're honestly just a software update away. And I know that because the software has gotten so much better in the car and on the phone since I took delivery. So what do I mean by that? I mean that whenever I first got the car, in the app, I could see 1 camera at a time, and I could only see 4 cameras, 1 up front, the 2 underneath the mirror, and the rear camera. I can now see all 4 of those cameras at the same time in the app on my phone if I would like to. I can still see 1 camera at a time, but I can see all 6 cameras now. I can see the pillar cameras, and I wasn't able to see those at first whenever I got the car. So really, really love the app integration, preconditioning the car, charging the car, you know, setting a charge limit at night so that it can slow charge all night long. I'm a fan of setting it at 15 to 20 amps and letting it slow charge all night long. And then it'll precondition in the morning. It'll be ready to go, either cool if it's hot outside, or, you know, nice and warm and toasty on the inside if it's chilly outside. It is just amazing. The integration between the app and the car, it's so good. I cannot tell you how good it is. You have to experience it for yourself. So if you have found this video helpful and you're going to get a Tesla, go ahead and use my Tesla referral link in the bottom, in the description below, so that you can go ahead and experience what it's like to own a Tesla. There's a reason that there are so many Teslas out on the road, and app integration is one of those reasons. So I can't say enough good things about the Tesla app integration. I absolutely love it. Another thing that I really, really like about the car, I guess this is number 2, is my driving position, my seating position, the steering wheel, the way that it feels, how big it is, how easy it is to maneuver. The car itself is very easy to maneuver. As we spoke about in the last clip about the things that I didn't like, whenever I had the Uber turbines, it was a little bit more difficult to turn the wheel. These Martian wheels are so light, they're so nimble, that it feels like, honestly, I don't have to do anything, barely any input, and the car goes exactly where I want it to go every single time. So I really love the driving position. I love the stalks, the indicator for the blinkers, the, you know, turn signal indicators, and to be able to put it in and out of gear. I have driven the new Model 3 refresh. You can check that video out somewhere around here. And just like everybody else, learning how to use the car without stalks was a little bit jarring, was just a little uncomfortable for me. So I really do love the stalks. I think that they are amazing. I don't know why Tesla took them away, but I'm able to get really, really low in this car, which is where I prefer to be. I'm a short guy. I'm only 5'4", and I feel like this car just fits me so well. I love driving like sports cars. I love driving sedans, and this is the best of both worlds. So I guess that, you know, that's the second thing that I like, is just the seating position, how I feel whenever I'm driving the car. Very comfortable, very in control. This is exactly how you want to feel in a car. And it's just second to none of any car that I've ever driven. Another thing that I really, really love about the car, I guess that this is number 3, so I'm going to do 4. Since I did 4 negatives, I'm going to do 4 positives. Number 3 has to be this UI. It is amazing. It's just so good. It took me absolutely no time at all to get used to seeing the speedometer on the right-hand side. I drove a Prius before I drove this car, so I was used to the speedometer being kind of in the middle, and, you know, it takes literally nothing for me to glance over and see the speed there on the screen. The map is awesome. It just does such a good job of all of the things. You know, pulling up the menu here, you can customize a lot of stuff in here. You can't customize the menu, you know, like sub menus in here, but you can go through and adjust your mirrors, adjust your steering wheel height. You can just do all kinds of things. I'm not going to get into what they are, but I really, really love the UI. And oh, look at that. I've got a software update. We are currently on software version 2024.2.7, and it looks like I am ready to download 2024.8.4. Again, today is March 18th, 2024. Okay, so I guess that brings me to my last and final thing that I love about my Tesla, and this is potentially an EV love thing, and that is just driving electric. I'm not polluting my local community while I'm driving my car. I have so many more benefits than, you know, I would have in a gas car. This car is so quick. It is so powerful. Top speed of this car is like 162 miles an hour. if I'm not mistaken. 0 to 60 in less than 3.5 seconds. I have a video on that somewhere. Maybe I'll link that here if I've done a good job editing. You know, I can't tell you how amazing it is to drive an electric car. And you don't really understand it if you've driven an internal combustion engine car for your entire life until you get in the driver's seat and actually drive an electric car. All right, we're gonna go ahead and floor it real quick, and I'll just show you real quick what I mean by that. 20-mile-an-hour roll, just like that. Now, it wouldn't be as good as it is if the rest of the car wasn't set up to do those kinds of things. I have the performance, yes, my car is faster than most other cars, but the suspension is set up and tuned to be able to handle those kinds of, you know, performance-oriented driving, driving styles. So, you know, that's something to think about if you're thinking about either getting a standard range or a performance or a long range. The performance is definitely a lot stiffer than the standard range, but there's a reason for that, and it's because it is so powerful that you really need to be able to stick to the road and stay on the road, and I think that the suspension does a great job doing that. I like it driving electric because it's cheaper than driving an internal combustion engine. I don't have any oil to change. I don't have to go to the gas station. In Oregon, you have to let somebody pump your gas for you. I don't have to do that. I know that in most of the country, you don't have to let somebody pump the gas for you, but I don't have to let anybody pump the gas for me. I can just plug it in at night, and whenever I get up in the morning, it's at, you know, roughly 75% state of charge, and that's where I want it to be so that I can drive around all day long and pretty much use as much of the battery as I need to get all of my daily driving done, all of the dashing done that I would normally need to do, and then still get home with more than 20% state of charge. And I personally think that driving electric is better for the environment. Shout at me if you will in the comments. You know, I'd be glad to read your comments. But yes, while digging up, you know, rare earth materials isn't good for the earth, these materials are highly recyclable. Once my battery is dead and gone, I know that Tesla or a similar, you know, goal-oriented company will be able to take my battery and we'll be able to reuse a lot. I don't want to give any like percentages out there, but I know that it is a ton of a percentage of the minerals that are inside it, because, you know, they're highly recyclable. So, you know, if I do have to replace a battery, those costs are coming down day after day. So it really isn't as expensive as you might think that it is to drive electric and to have to replace one of these batteries or a motor. These motors are honestly some of the strongest, most durable motors, long lasting in the industry. Like, if anybody is doing a conversion from, you know, an ICE car to an electric car and an old body style, they're putting Tesla motors in it. They're putting usually Tesla batteries, and it's because they're proven to do the job that needs to be done. So, all right, I guess that's about a video for you guys. I love my Tesla. I can't say enough good things about it. You know, I want to give you as much of an unbiased opinion, but I am a driver, I am an owner. I love the car, and I wanted to give you some good things, some bad things, and I hope that you guys enjoyed my 1-year review of owning a Tesla. Thank you for liking, subscribing, leaving a comment. You know, it all really helps the channel out, so thank you so much for doing that. You know, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys drive electric, if I hit anything on the head. If you guys think that I did a good job, let me know if you guys think that I could do something better. I look forward to seeing you in another episode in the future. Thanks again. Later.